Rowena, who isn't here today, who's the school business manager at another primary school, and I were asked to do a presentation. This is loosely based on that presentation because I was unaware whether you use school business managers, so I hope I'm not preaching to the converted, but this is our experience of how school business management has worked for our cluster. Our cluster comprises several different schools. We have a high school.
Excuse me.
Hello.
This is Angela who's had the things and some of you might
How embarrassing.
Yes,
that'd be lovely. Thank
You
you.
have to do a silly walk.
Thank you, sorry. Hi.
I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Okay.
I'm trying to interrupt.
No, that's all right. Our cluster of schools comprises Alison, who is the Bursar stroke school business manager at Wigmore, which is high school, as you know, academy, primary school mixed, and 5 other primary schools. All of a similar size, but ranging from the smallest, I suppose, has about 60 pupils, which would be Shobden, and Alton, I think, are the biggest, and they're sort of touching on 200, not far from 200 pupils. Each school has a fully qualified school business manager in place. What is a school business manager? We were among the first tranche of school business managers that the National College introduced. I think I was in cohort 8. Alison, you were on the first, weren't you? And so it was a fairly new concept around our schools. But school business managers are able to look after everything that the head teacher shouldn't be doing. In other words, stuff that is everyday stuff that's not altogether to do with education. Unblocking toilets, not personally, but arranging for them to be unblocked. Facilities management, looking after the school environment, looking after the computer, the ICT department, making sure that everything is on a rolling programme for replacement, looking into purchases. Obviously, the office management, looking after support staff and making sure that school policies are in place to support them, to encourage professional development and pastoral care as well. Make sure risk managements are in place and, of course, the biggie, looking after the budget, making sure that financial management is in place. And that, I suppose, one of the biggest parts of our role now is trying to track down additional money because schools just don't have enough money, really, for the added extras that we would like. I mean, obviously there are grants out there, there's money out there, but you've got to fight really hard for them. And because we are dedicated school business managers, we are freed from the day-to-day minutiae of general running of the office, and we can track down further funds that may be available. There are various models of school business managers. I mean, there's the one school business manager. Sometimes, I mean, Bromyard, which is a town, a market town, 20 miles away, for the last 2 years has had a school business manager who has been placed over 6 primary schools. And she was mainly in place for the government's initiative of financial management in schools, FMSIS, which was a huge government requirement to bring all schools in line with the way that they were managing their finances. Anne did that over the 6 schools, bringing them all together. Unfortunately, the money's run out and her post hasn't continued. Some primary schools, larger primary schools, Rowena, for instance, who isn't here today, she is a full-time, all-year-round school business manager. Her head has chosen to actually go back into the classroom for half-time teaching in order to afford to pay Rowena as a school business manager, which means that he is actually doing what he's qualified for, what he's skilled at, and he's leaving the administration and the management of the school business side to Rowena. And again, as I say, you can have a school business manager in a group of primary schools. I'm a school business manager at Luston Primary School. We are only a small school. We have 97 pupils. And it suits me and the school for me to just work 2 days a week. So I can be flexible, they can be flexible, but generally speaking, I work on a Tuesday and a Thursday as school business manager, and it works very well. I spend the rest of the time on the golf course. And that just explains, it's generally the whole purpose of a school business manager is to reduce the time spent by head teachers on stuff that is not to do with education and the children. This is just a slide which shows how our cluster is built up. And Alison and Andrew were instrumental in applying to the National College of School Leadership for a grant in order for the cluster, for us to explore cluster working, so that the school business managers from our schools could actually get out of the school environment and meet together in a place away from school, away from interruptions, and actually share our ideas. And it wasn't just a matter of sitting around a table having a chat. We have structured agendas and really deeply discuss how each of us handle different jobs within the school. The other thing that we've done is collaborate in a way that instead of asking for one quotation for property maintenance, for instance, or grounds maintenance, we apply as a cluster of schools. We've got better buying power with 6 of us and a high school. You know, we have more authority, if you like, and we can drive the price down. And people actually listen to us because we are quite a commanding group, you know, and we do command respect. We do command respect. And this is exactly what I'm saying. Bulk purchasing contracts for the grounds maintenance, for music provision, for library services. We work together to get value for money so that our buck goes a bit further. We are looking at sharing staff, looking at where our skill sets are. So for instance, in the future, we haven't yet done this, but in the future, what we're hoping to do is if we have specialist teaching assistants in one school, for instance, for a hearing impaired child, and another school should have a hearing impaired child, because we meet, because we discuss things, because we collaborate, we are aware of the skills that we have in our schools. We're going to do a skills audit so that we absolutely know what skills are available in our schools, so that if we do have a child arrive with a condition that we have no experience of, for instance, we know exactly who has and who to direct our questions to. If we have sickness, of course, we're hoping that we might be able to use a bank of staff. Sourcing new funding streams I've mentioned, and actually to reduce the workload of the head, which I think we do by taking all the dross, for want of another word, from him or her. And I've also found, I think, that my head teacher appreciates having somebody to bounce things off. I think he perhaps, I may be speaking out of turn, but I feel that he now feels that he's not quite alone, that, you know, there is somebody that will take some of the flack as well. Medium and long-term planning, environmental sustainable development, we're looking very much into how we can be environmentally sustainable. We're all trying to discuss different ways and different paths that we might follow. And why do it? Well, as I've said before, the majority of head teachers come to school to teach. That is what they are skilled at. And they end up, certainly in my experience, putting the door handle on that's fallen off, unblocking the toilets, unblocking the drains outside. My head's very often had his hand down the drain outside when it's been bucketing down with rain and it's full of silt. And, you know, the whole point of having a skilled head teacher is to teach. That's what they're good at, that's what they're best at, and we are qualified to do the management of the rest. And that's it really. Schools are about children improving their outcomes, and I think business managers can help teachers to do that. That's it. I don't know if anybody's got any questions.